Hey guys, welcome back. We're talking archetypes today, not archetypes. I know it can be confusing that spelling, but it's archetype, okay? And so I'm going to walk you through the presentation and try to give you some tips and clarification, extra instruction along the way. If you want to do this with me, I will do my best to try to announce what I'm going to do to try to make that easier on you, okay? So we're gonna start off, we're gonna skip a couple of slides ahead to Carl Jung. Carl Jung is the psychiatrist that created the idea of archetypes. He believes in a collective unconscious, which basically means that all cultures have these same stories and roles that they already have within them, and so we share these ideas, and they are a consistent pattern. Folklore and myths. As generations of people passed the stories down, we started to notice that there were these patterns across all these different cultures, all these different stories. There are these patterns that come up, and that means characters, events, symbols, and even stereotypes. So what is an archetype? I mean, an archetype itself is a pattern. Specifically in literature, it's a pattern that's copied and reused over and over and again. They can be symbols, patterns, or events. Those are the three main categories we're going to cover in a second here. And they survive because they stay relevant. So they're constantly relevant with our lives despite the ever-changing world around us. Situational archetypes are plots or events that occur over and over and over again. And you're going to be able to see a lot clearer what I'm talking about if I'm going to give you some examples. So I'm going to kind of step forward and move to the next one so I can give you some hard evidence here. So the quest, task, or journey, and these are actually three different archetypes, but they're so similar, I'm not going to ask you to know the difference between them. So the quest is a search for someone or something, which will, if you return it to where it came from, will return prosperity and wealth to a wasteland, and it makes it better. The journey is when you send a hero in search for something, could just be information, and then they restore the kingdom to its glory through that information. We have The Incredibles, Pirates of the Caribbean is a really good one. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is way high up there in classic task, quest, journey archetypes, because he literally is just making an adventure and trying to accomplish this one thing, which once he restores the ring, will return prosperity to the land. We also have the initiation. The initiation is when you have a transformation to adult life. It's also called, and it's just lost on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, it's growing into adulthood and making that change from adolescence, and it's usually because of a life event or a choice. So we have Luke, he's training. We have Juno, who she becomes pregnant at a young age, and she has to handle that. And then Perks of Wallflower is another great one. Death and rebirth. That is the cycle of nature and the cycle of life. So morning, springtime represent birth, youth, rebirth, and evening, nighttime is death, winter. So we have frozen, as everything's frozen over, death, right? And then everything's reborn. That's Demeter there, Greek mythology. The battle between good and evil. Anytime two forces go straight ahead and it's bad guy, good guy, really obvious, right? Disney movies are key. We got all the superhero movies. We got Harry Potter. The wound that won't heal. This is kind of a cool one. So it's either an actual physical wound or it can also be psychological, and it never is healed. The way that Harry's scar burns when Voldemort is near. Nemo's little fin. And then we have when Frodo is attacked by the Nazgul. Character archetypes, so character types that are seen in various other stories, movies, and they fulfill a recognizable role over and over again. I chose these because these two actors here, they play the same role over and over and over again oftentimes. They sit in that character archetype. The hero, so you guys all know who the hero is. I'm not going to go into that much depth about that, but they're the one that fulfills harmony and makes everything good again. We have the damsel in distress, real classic one. We still use that as an idiom today. The female who's usually a pretty young princess or pretty young lady who has something special about them, and they need to be saved because some evil villain has taken them capture captive rather, or done something to keep them away from their family, kingdom, dot dot dot. This one also I do want to point out that because we have progressed as a society, there's also can be a damsel in distress who is male. There are new books where the guy is the one in distress, so I think that is something good to be aware of. The initiate, this is kind of like when you have people that overcome, like we talked about before, it's the exact same picture of Luke. They are often also the initiate. They are young heroes or heroines that go through training and they end up being much more powerful than they begin. They usually wear white, at least they did, because like we talked about, things are changing. Before, white was the color of good all the time. That has started to change, where you see like Katniss Everdeen, you see excuse me, the Divergent series where they're wearing a lot more black and still being the hero. Mentor, we got Gandalf, we have Dumbledore, the good witch of the, I want to say north or south, from Wizard of Oz, but they are the council that for the young hero. They help them progress and change and become more mature, and they give them lots of lessons along the way. The Jester, this one is a little more complex than the rest, so I'm going to dive into it a little bit. He is at peace with whatever the world is, the paradox of the world. So they use humor to give power to those without it, or take power away from those that have power and are abusing it, and they use comic relief in the audience. So Jack Sparrow is a great one, the Weasley twins, and then we have Chunk from the Goonies. These are all examples of how a character can be totally cool with the fact that everything around them is crazy and chaotic, and they use humor to cope and help others cope. Group of companions, that's just a traveling group that sticks with the hero or main character, and they stick together through a journey or through a task. Scapegoat, someone who gets blamed. Usually it's not their fault, they get blamed anyways. Everybody shoves their mistakes over on this scapegoat. So in this case we have Aslan, who dies for the kid's sins, and we have Edward Scissorhands, who's just different because he can't help it and he still gets blamed for it. And then of course Hagrid is always taking the hit. Sherlock, bye buddy. The Temptress is another one. It's a beauty, brings the downfall of a hero because he is physically attracted to her. Once again, we can switch genders with this now. It's been set as an archetype for a long time as a specific gender, but that has changed. Star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet's the real key one here. But anytime there's two people that are destined to fall in love, but they can't be together at the end, it's not going to turn out very well. Creature of nightmare, any animal or creature disfigured or mutilated monster who's the main antagonist of the story. So we have Alien, we have Medusa, the dragon, also like Captain Hook, you have that mutilation. And then symbolic archetypes is the last one. Excuse me, that's my dryer. There we go. Symbolic archetypes is the last one. Places or objects that carry the same meaning across different stories. Because this one's kind of the most straightforward, because it's just a symbol that means the same thing in each one. I'm going to go pretty quickly through these. So light versus dark. Light's good, dark's bad. The threshold is a gateway to a new world. So we have the closet, we have the hole now in Alice in Wonderland, etc. It's a threshold. It's the gateway to another world or place. Nature versus the mechanistic world. This is one that is like technology is bad, nature is good. Haven versus wilderness this is a safe place that someone can go and rest while things are going down. So we have heroes' hideouts. We have the little cave that Peeta and Katniss save themselves in. Any place that is a haven for them where they can be out of danger for a little while. And if you would like to see even more, you can go ahead and go through the Shrek archetypes. It's just a bunch of examples. You can kind of test your skills, because Shrek is like packed full of archetypes. Like every single thing in there is an archetype, because that's the kind of movie they were trying to make. It's making fun of those archetypes while possessing them at the same time. So I know that was a lot. We will continue to dive into these in the next couple of days. So please, if you have any questions, if there's any confusion, please let me know. We can set up some Zoom meetings. I can clarify for everyone if there's there's a question that keeps burning in everyone's mind, but that's archetypes. Hopefully you feel confident in your understanding of them, and that is all I have for you now. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good one.